Hello and welcome to Daily Reflection with Aneel Aranha. Today is the 21st of September 2019. We're going to reflect on Matthew 9 to 13. Listen. As Jesus was walking along, he saw a man called Matthew sitting at the tax booth, and he said to him, "Follow me." And Matthew got up and followed him. And as he sat at dinner in Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners came and were sitting with him and his disciples. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" But when Jesus heard this, he said, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, for I have come to call not the righteous, but sinners." The Gospel of the Lord. There is something that often happens when we read stories in the Bible. Because of the matter-of-fact way that the stories are told and the rapid succession of events, we often don't grasp the nuances, the intricacies. It's like watching a movie from Marvel Studios. There is so much detail contained in every scene, but we don't see most of it because we're swept along to the next. Now we can't pause movies to look at these details, but fortunately, we can pause in our reading of Scripture to do so. And let me show you how it works. Jesus is walking along and he sees a man called Matthew sitting at the tax booth. He says to Matthew, "Follow me." And Matthew gets up and follows him. So what's the detail? Matthew's profession was not honorable. Tax collectors often resorted to threats and force to collect taxes, often more than what was owed, and were universally hated. But Jesus calls such a man to be his disciple. He says, "Follow me." Very often we don't grasp the significance of these words, which seem to be so ordinary, so let us examine it. Do you think Matthew wanted to be somebody's disciple? Sitting there at his tax booth, he was probably thinking about how he could extort more money from people. He liked his life, wicked though it was. People who are in sin like to remain in sin. It's a very inertial thing. It's like being paralyzed. Now, in the previous scene, Jesus says to a paralytic, "Get up." And the man gets up and walks, no longer paralyzed. Here when Jesus says, "Follow me," to Matthew, he's issuing a command, just like he did with the paralytic. But just as the paralytic had the choice to disobey and remain in his state of paralysis, Matthew also had the choice to stay in the tax collector's booth and remain in his state of sin. How do we know he had a choice? Because at another time when Jesus told a rich young man to follow him, the man refused and went his way. But in accepting Jesus' call to follow him, Matthew also gets up and walks, no longer paralyzed. Now listen to what happens next. Matthew hosts a dinner at his house, inviting his friends. And who are his friends? Other tax collectors. But I think we miss the point of this completely, because although we might not like paying taxes, we don't look upon tax collectors as the Jews did. So imagine Matthew as a drug pusher instead. And he invites other druggies and dealers to his house to meet Jesus. Forget about your outrage for a moment. Why would Matthew do this? Because he has found freedom and he wants his friends to find it too. I found my freedom following Christ. Do you want freedom? Jesus is saying to you today, "Follow me." So, get up and follow him. God bless you.